Welcome back to Get Up. With free agency well underway in the NBA, let's look at some of the winners and losers of the offseason so far. Vince Goodwill, we begin with you. Who do you have as one of the big winners?
LeBron James. Like, how many times are we going to do this? As many times as LeBron says so. You didn't think that this free agency was going to be filled with drama, that everybody would be after him. Wrong again. We went through this in 2010, 2014, 2018, and now we are doing this where the entire league is at his whims. He can tilt the axis of championship teams and contention based off of where he signs, and who would have thought we'd be doing that at age 42?
Nice of something to finally break his way. Monica McNutt, who's your big winner in free agency so far?
I got the Philadelphia 76ers. I think this is going to be one of the most impactful, or the most impactful move in the Eastern Conference, in fact. I just think the dynamic that Brown gives you alongside the speed of Edgecombe and Maxey, and who knows, what if Joel Embiid has one of his better seasons? Like, this is going to be a team that you have to deal with on both sides of the basketball.
As a Philadelphia fan, I think it's fair to say we've really tapered our expectations. We'd like to get excited, but we've seen this before with the Sixers. But thank you very much for hyping us up. Tim McMahon, biggest loser of the offseason.
Man, thanks for letting me be the wet blanket. I feel like Tim Bontem's here. It's the Boston Celtics and Jaylen Brown. Look, the Celtics got shockingly little value for an All-NBA player. Jaylen Brown got his ego and his pride trampled on. I mean, he was disrespected. He was not just by the Celtics, but the league basically saying there's not that much value in trading for Jaylen Brown. He lands in a place in Philly where he's got to figure out where he is on the pecking order. But again, the pride, the ego, deep ego contusion for Jaylen Brown.
Speaking of Jaylen Brown, he spoke for the first time since the big trade to Philadelphia yesterday on Twitch, no doubt. Take a listen to this.
It's a bunch of emotions. I'm still processing everything, so give me some time. But I'm also looking forward to what's to come next. I will say there was definitely a message being sent, and that message was received. I wasn't thrilled with the amount of respect that was showed during this process. You know, I did feel like it was a lack of respect. At one point it was fine, and out of nowhere it just went left. I definitely think it's more to it. It definitely is more to it. I know Brad is getting a lot of the criticism, but, you know, I just wish the more to it could have been explained. I just wish that they had the respect to just tell me exactly what it was, and I would have understood, and I would have respected that. The process is back on. We've been shutting the process down for the last, I don't know how many years. The process has been over, but now the process is back, mother.
Okay, so that started one way and then went a little bit differently there at the end. Vince, you're going to have first crack at this. Go ahead and break it down for us.
I was just a little shocked at the cameo towards the end of the video. Oh. Hey, the homie just pulled up, just started doing air dribbles and everything. No, he was air dribbling. Aside from that, there's so many things, y'all, that stand out to me. Respect and money are two of the biggest things. He said, I understood the process early. You know what that says? I understand if I'm traded for Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's one of the 5 best players in the game. And then at some point, the respect went elsewhere. And I think he's talking about the perception, the discussion about him, analytics and the role that plays, the fact that teams were not lining up to trade for him, the fact that the Boston Celtics had zero problem trading him to the Philadelphia 76ers up the road, saying essentially we don't have any fear of you coming back to haunt us. That is disrespectful. I can't wait to see Jaylen Brown's first game back in Boston, what that reception is going to be, and who he's going to be going after.
Schedule that game for Christmas. Tim McMahon, what do you think Jason Tatum's role was in all of this?
I don't know, but as Jaylen Brown said, there's more to it, and he left those lines wide open to read between. What I can tell you is the suspicion around the league is certainly this had a lot to do with the dynamic and the long-running tension that kind of escalated after this season between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Nobody knows that for certain except for the people within that Celtics front office. I don't want to really speculate on it. The one bit of speculation I will provide here is if Jason Tatum wanted to throw himself on the tracks, that train could have screeched to a halt. He clearly didn't want to do that.
That's an excellent point. If your star player is saying, no, this is a terrible decision, maybe it doesn't go the route it did. McNutt, slide in here. Do you think Boston's ready for Brown's revenge tour?
No, not as currently constructed. I mean, if the last part of that sound was that the process is back on, if Jaylen Brown plans to come in and build a relationship with Joel Embiid and legitimately the process gets back on track, like, guys, this team is going to be a problem in the Eastern Conference. And so as I look at what Boston has going on, it is the Jason Tatum show. And I'm not saying that he might not be able to rise to the level that's going to be required, but I still am wondering about the rest of that roster in terms of last year being a coach of the year caliber performance, as Brown was the one to drag those guys along and do something really special in the regular season that ultimately didn't pan out in the postseason. So now are we not talking about Boston in terms of their postseason goals? Because that's the way I'm accustomed to talking about the Celtics.
Final word on this one.
Well, Boston tends to believe that Peyton Pritchard can have a Jalen Brunson-like rise in his career. Whatever drugs they're on, I want to have it all day, every day. But remember, here's the key thing. With Tatum and Brown the last 2 years, the Boston Celtics have won a grand total, yes, Monica, a grand total of 1 playoff series, and they were going to make a combined $600 million over the next handful of years. That's a lot of expensive money for not a lot of playoff production.
Monica, you look like you agree.
To your point off the top, Vince, respect and money and marriages, friendships, and all the things. I just think while that stat is jarring, we can't act like these guys did not get to the mountaintop together and basically set how the entire Eastern Conference went about chasing them.
I will say this, and it got me in trouble at some point before. 1 championship ain't enough in today's NBA.
Especially when you're in Boston with the legacy that they have put together.